This is a fictional story that I made up. This video was made for fun and was inspired by Thunderbolt 1000 Siren Productions. Link to his channel will be in the description. Switches are a main component of railroads. They allow trains to switch tracks from one to another smoothly and without incident. Well, what happens if one of these switches is not set in the right position? The results can be fatal. On the evening of August 4th, 2001, in the outskirts of Detroit, Michigan, a large CSX mixed freight train was chugging into town headed for Rougemere Yard, near the center of Detroit. It consisted of 3 locomotives up front: CSX 209, a newer AC44CW, CSX 8176 and SD40-2, and CSX 8522 and SD50-2, which had YN1 paint. Meanwhile, a CSX local job out of East Yard was switching some industries in Detroit. The locomotive leading the local was CSX 6095, a GP40-2. This train was on track 3, serving Atlas Tube, a steel tube manufacturer located right along Interstate 275. The crew on this train pulled the train up to the industry and realized they would have to reverse the switch so that the train could push the cars into the Atlas Tube factory. So the conductor walked to the front of the train and flipped the switch. This action would prove to be a fatal one, as the mixed freight train was getting closer to their location. The crew on the mixed freight train were oblivious to the situation ahead and were going about 40 miles per hour. As the train crossed the Plymouth Diamond, the engineer got a bad feeling that something was wrong, so he slowed down the train by about 10 miles per hour. Meanwhile, the local train was backing into the industry. The conductor forgot about the switch and left it reversed. They were backing up when suddenly a horn blared from the distance. The conductor looked over to see the manifest train's headlights coming straight for them. He radioed for the crew to bail from his train and run. In the mixed freight train, the engineer and conductor saw the headlights of the local but didn't realize they were going to crash. Until the very last second, the engineer threw the train into emergency, and then this disaster struck. The mixed freight train collided head-on with the local at about 25 miles per hour, instantly derailing both trains. The I-275 bridge collapsed, causing multiple cars to fall onto the tracks and wreckage. Destroyed rail cars lay strewn across the tracks with a mix of concrete from the highway. Some locomotives even lay on top of each other as the force had pushed them up on top of them. In the front engine on the mixed freight train, the engineer crawled out of the wreckage with major injuries and called for help. The conductor was still trapped inside. Sadly, after being airlifted to the hospital, the conductor died from his injuries the next day. Multiple people inside cars that had fallen from the interstate had injuries, but no one died. In total, 1 died and 4 people were injured. In total, the railroad paid $5 million in damages and lawsuits for the derailment. CSX 8176 was frame bent, so it was scrapped, and CSX 8522 also suffered too much damage, so it was scrapped. CSX 6095 was fixed, and CSX 209 was also fixed and repainted. So what was the cause of this disaster? Well, the main blame here was put on the conductor of the local. He was the one that did not check to see if any trains were coming, and he did not flip the switch back after they were done using it. He was subsequently fired and charged with fourth-degree manslaughter. But some of the blame could also be put on the railroad for not upgrading their mainline switches to automatic switches that can be controlled by dispatch. Overall, this wreck was actually very similar to the Case, South Carolina train wreck that happened in 2018, where an Amtrak train went into a siding, hitting a CSX train head-on because the switch was not set in the right position by the conductor. Even though this wreck wasn't real, many others in real life happened this way. Today, CSX 209 is still in service, as well as 6095. The siding in which the two trains collided has recently been pulled up, and Atlas Steel no longer takes rail cars. Overall, this has had a lasting impact on the community, and hopefully something like this will never happen again.